Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang was in Hollis, New Hampshire on Tuesday for a town hall. While speaking with reporters that were covering the event, revelations were made about his outlook on healthcare and on campaign finance. So, a couple videos to show you. First one is going to be a question about Medicare for All.
On Medicare for All, page 8 of Senator Bernie Sanders' bill eliminates private insurers. Does that mean that you do not support the Bernie Sanders Medicaid for All bill?
I support the spirit of what Bernie is trying to accomplish. I do think that outlawing private insurance in a very short period of time is a bit too disruptive, and I would not do it.
Too disruptive.
A little bit too disruptive to outlaw private insurers in such a short time. You know, because that was an interesting word he used, disruptive. You know what I think of? You know, like if we're talking about healthcare, you know what I think is a disruptive? People dying because they lack healthcare. People going into bankruptcy because they didn't have the funds to pay for their health.
So financially disruptive.
Oh, it's financially
and physically.
And physically, very, very disruptive. Very disruptive. Lives being shortened because of a lack of health care. All of these things are very disruptive. Not outlawing private insurers in a short period of time, in which that's actually not even the right language, because private insurers would not be outlawed per se. Now, in the role that they function in right now, in which they are allowed to participate in just general medicine, primary care, stuff like that, no, they wouldn't be there. There would be no reason for them to be there. Would they be there for other services? Of course. If you want to give them money for some other services, oh yes, they would definitely be there. But yeah, so it's kind of weird to say that they're outlawed. I know what you're saying, but why would anybody, including Andrew Yang, care that it would happen in a short time? And Bernie Sanders' bill is 4 years, I believe, right? The transition period would be 4 years, right? So why would that be a concern of yours? If you're coming from an honest place, a genuine place, because this is a guy that has talked about how he supports the idea of single payer. This is why people believe that he was supportive of Medicare for All. Why would this 4-year period concern you? It would be too disruptive. Too disruptive to who?
I know it's an incomplete sentence. It would be too disruptive to the insurance companies.
Not people.
Not people.
Insurance companies. Private insurance companies.
You know, I think $1,000 stipend is disruptive. Mm-hmm. I think that's something not disruptive.
Especially his UBI, because again, if you take that $1,000, then you're going to be foregoing the other assistance that you're getting. Mm-hmm. So that, yes, can be.
But see, okay,
definitely can be disruptive.
But if people are still getting that $1,000 and we don't have Medicare for All, I wonder where a lot of that $1,000 will go to. Well, that $1,000 will go to insurance, health insurance.
Of course it will.
Health insurance companies.
Yeah. Which will still be here, making a profit. And I guess that's what Andrew Yang wants to preserve, the profit-making abilities of the private health insurance industry.
What it sounds like. Because again, he's the one who included that it's being done in a swift way, right? Yes. It's being done
too swiftly.
So, if that's the case, and if that's your argument, you would have to follow up with maybe your version. You have to follow up with some, I guess not another version, because he said he agrees with the spirit of it.
Yes, he does.
So by saying he agrees with the spirit of it, that means like, all in all, it's a sound idea. Mm-hmm. So he has a problem with the time. Okay, that's fine. All right. If you have a problem with the time, then you would have to offer some alternative timetable. But he didn't, which tells me that he's being disingenuous. Offer an alternative timetable.
Yeah, 4 years is too quick. What
okay,
is not?
Okay, so what is not too quick? That just seems very off. Like, just seems like a really weird turn here.
It does.
What?
It does.
Who has he been talking to?
I don't know.
Who has he been talking to?
I don't know. But okay, so we have another video. And again, so this clip is going to show Andrew Yang speaking about campaign finance and corporate PACs.
If you were to win the nomination, would you swear off hosting large dollar fundraisers in the same way Senator Elizabeth Warren has?
I will do whatever it takes to beat Donald Trump in 2020. And to me, you have to use everything at your disposal, because if you're facing a nominee that has raised over $100 million and has many rich donors who come together for big ticket fundraisers, leaving that off the table for the Democratic nominee strikes me as not the best way to compete and win. Most Democrats, first and foremost, if you ask them what their criteria are for the nominee, it's to win. And it doesn't do us any good to lose by tying one of our hands behind our backs. We need both hands free to beat Donald Trump.
Would you still dismiss corporate PAC money, though, if you were the nominee?
I have no intention of taking corporate PAC money. I don't think we would need that to win. So that's my stance on it.
You know what that sounded like to me? That sounded like the unilateral disarmament argument that
It does sound like
Elizabeth Warren issued.
And Elizabeth Warren was addressed. Hey, are you not going to take money like Elizabeth Warren? Like, she's not going to take money. That's another issue. But yeah, unilateral disarmament. But he put it in a different way. He said, you can't operate with one hand tied behind your backs. You know, the Republicans are going to be raising all this money, hundreds of millions of dollars.
At least he was original. He was clever with his
spin on it.
But it's the same damn thing.
It's the same thing.
He just used kind of like a different lead-in to express the same point that Elizabeth Warren did.
He said he was going to do whatever it takes to win the general election against Trump.
Because
whatever it takes.
Because that's what all the candidates' goal is, to win. That's it. That's
unconditional.
Unconditional.
Like, nothing's off the table.
Their goal is to win, and that's it. That's what he said.
Whatever way that you have to win, well, that's how we got to do it, because we got to beat Donald Trump. So again, this is language that we heard from Elizabeth Warren. This is language that we've heard from other candidates as well. And this is on the issue of campaign finance. So here we have the Hillary Clinton argument once again. So
without making it.
Without even addressing her. So money in politics is a significant issue. Money in politics leads to corruption. We have to do something about Citizens United. It has to be overturned. Oh, money in politics is a huge issue. It's a corrupting issue. But hey, to win, we got to do whatever it takes. So if you engage in that type of behavior, we're to believe that you're not going to be engaged in the corruption that follows it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What would make you think that? It's not how it...
You can't untie the corruption from the money in politics. Like, how can you even do that? Because the people that are given this money, they want things done. They wouldn't give you the money if they weren't counting on the things to get done. For you to...
The rules don't apply.
To advocate for their interest over people like us.
The rules don't
over
apply.
Our interest.
The rules don't apply to Yang. Those rules don't apply. Look, I don't care how much
He's like in a bubble. He's in that corruption just can't get to him.
Must be.
But the money can.
The money could get to him. But I guess the requirements that come with the money don't.
He didn't sell me. He seemed like he was unsure himself. Corporate PAC money? I don't think we'll need it. Damn, that's not an answer I like. That's not a good answer, Andrew Yang. You're supposed to give a definitive answer. Hell no, I'm not taking corporate PAC money.
But see,
that runs
he's basically saying
counter to what I'm trying to do.
He's basically saying, hey, if I need it, I'll take it.
That's what it sounds like to me.
No. He's saying that, but what he really means is just a straight yes. He's just trying to like offer a buffer, to make it seem like, hey, I'm only going to do it if I'm desperate. but we don't know where that threshold is.
No, we don't.
So he's just saying
it's
that
possible.
It's possible. He's just saying it because he outright knows he's going to take it regardless.
As if it couldn't get worse. Again, this was during Tuesday town hall in New Hampshire. So we're going to backtrack one day on Monday, in which Andrew Yang was interviewed by Robert Costa of Washington Post Live. So in the interview, and this was towards the end of the interview, actually it was the last question, Costa asked Yang about, he asked him if another candidate's ideology was similar to his, and to name that candidate.
Who on that debate stage is closest to you in terms of your view of the world? Who is closest to you in that sense?
It's funny you asked that. I mean, you'd have to sort of like put us all together in some kind of like Franken candidate.
No, there must be someone in spirit who's perhaps closest to you.
I will say the only person who's taken me aside and said that we need to really worry about the fourth industrial revolution because it could potentially tear our country apart is Joe Biden.
Joe Biden pulled you aside. That's an intriguing. Would you serve on a Biden ticket? You said you were open to anything?
I'm definitely open to working with Joe. We've actually talked about it.
Yo, you can continue the show. I heard enough. I'm about to eat the sandwich.
You gonna eat the sandwich?
Right now. The show is over for me. Because I don't want to go here. I really don't want to go here. Because that's not the person. I'm going to put my sandwich away. I'm just joking. That's not the person that you name drop in that situation.
Joe Biden.
Not just name drop Joe Biden, but name drop him in that way. That was a very short answer. Mm-hmm. But look at his body language. And then look at something key that he said. Joe Biden pulled me aside. The question was, like,
who are you closest to?
Who are you close? Your worldview.
Your ideology.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Doesn't matter who pulled you aside.
Right.
Doesn't matter who pulled you aside. Like some fourth industrial revolution.
Right.
Like really is that like what wraps up everything that's about you? That one thing he pulled you aside. Mm-hmm. There's something revealing right there, even though it was a very short answer. Because if you're talking about worldview, he could have picked from anybody. He could have picked from anybody because we've been talking about Joe Biden for some time. If you're talking about a Joe Biden worldview, you're talking about somebody who told a room full of billionaires that their situation wasn't going to change. Mm-hmm. But I thought Andrew Yang was for the working class and trying to change their situation and using the capital that billionaires have gained to help working class people and poorer people. Yeah. So right there, that's a contradiction.
He's talked about us owning our own data in terms of like Google searches and all these searches and actually making a profit off these searches, taking some of that money from these corporations. So your interests are for working people, poor people. Your interests are for the majority of the people in this country, not the billionaire class, not the wealthy class.
Okay, let's talk about another worldview. What about Joe Biden's position on the Iraq war that he still doesn't seem to want to take responsibility for?
Right.
What about trade deals as well? Would Andrew Yang stump for a Republican whose ideology did not match up with his own party? Is that the type of worldview that Andrew Yang is connecting himself to?
If somebody was to ask me, hey, who do you think lines up the closest in terms of ideology? Who do you think lines up the closest to Andrew Yang? I'd be like, I don't know. You know who I wouldn't say?
That's probably the first person you wouldn't say.
I would not say Joe Biden. I wouldn't say Amy Klobuchar. I wouldn't say Pete Buttigieg. I wouldn't say Beto O'Rourke. I wouldn't say
Kamala Harris.
No, I wouldn't say Kamala Harris. John Delaney, because these guys are still in the race.
That's where I forgot.
I would not say any of these guys. I would I would lean to the more progressive of candidates because it appeared to be that's what Andrew Yang's lane was, the more progressive approach to politics. But if you're saying that, hey, first he tried to make a joke about it and say, hey, he's going to have to be some Franken candidate. But hey, you know what? The only name I got in my head is because this one candidate pulled me aside, Joe Biden. And we talked about the fourth industrial revolution. So, yeah, I'm all with Joe Biden. I would definitely work with Joe Biden.
Me and him are besties. It seems like what influenced the second part of his answer was the first part.
Yeah.
Joe Biden pulled me aside and somehow treated me in some kind of way, offered me something. We connected on something. So even though our worldviews don't match up based on what I have said, I'm going to say it's him. Why would you say it's Biden even though we can go point by point and show how it's not Biden in reality, but he said it's Biden?